It is now 9:30, which means our district officer training session, the third one of the year, will begin. Just so you know, we are recording these sessions so that we have this information to provide you in future times. We have the privilege and honor of hearing from our district director. She almost single-handedly ran all of the area, division, and district contests last year because we went via Zoom. And since this year we have that requirement by TI, she is going to grace us with her knowledge and expand our horizons and allow us to improve what we can do for our contests. Madam District Director, take it away.
Thank you, Carol. I want to warn you guys that I had to slice and dice this presentation. As you know, Toastmasters provides us with the slides and the workbooks of what we're supposed to train you guys on. However, their training does not include online contests. So you have your participant workbook that I sent you. Feel free to follow along in it and take notes, but be advised that I won't cover everything that's in it so that I can make sure to cover the online content for you. Hopefully all of you can see my screen, which you should be seeing the cover slide, Area and Division Director Training Session 4. If you can't, make sure you let Carol know because I can only see my screen and Carol since she's timing. So I won't be able to see you as I'm going through this. So your session objectives today are to state the types of speech contests, to explain benefits of speech contests, and then I have added learn best practices for online contests and gain some resources for use in your speech contests. There are several types of speech contests. We have the international contest, which is the only one that is required for all the districts to do. It is also the only contest that goes beyond district level to region, quarterfinals, semifinals, and the World Championship of Public Speaking. An international speech is a speech on any topic for 5 to 7 minutes. It's usually an inspirational topic, and some hallmarks of an international speech are, you'll hear the phrase, make them laugh, make them cry. So that's basically what is looked for in an international speech, but again, it can be on any topic you want. For this year, we have chosen a second speech, which is Tall Tales. So we will be having both international and Tall Tales contests. A Tall Tale is a 3 to 5 minute speech. Make sure you note that because some people don't realize it's shorter. It's a 3 to 5 minute speech, and it is a humorous tale that is usually outlandish and embellished, sometimes has elements of truth, but doesn't have to be true at all. There are other types of contests which we won't be having this year. I will cover them quickly. Evaluation is exactly what it sounds like. You have a test speaker that gives a speech, and then the contestants give a 2 to 3 minute evaluation of that speech, and they all evaluate the same speech. Then you have humorous speeches, which you guys saw last year. That's a 5 to 7 minute funny speech on any topic. And then table topics, which is just like you expect from your club level. Everybody gets the same question, and then the judges judge on how they answer it. And then taped contests, which don't necessarily apply to our district, but the undistricted online clubs are not permitted to be a part of this speech contest. They have their own video speech contest. So that doesn't really apply to you guys, but just so you understand that it's out there in case you ever hear that term. Your resources. The Area and division directors, you guys are the resources for the clubs. So you're the person that they would come to ask questions about speech contests. Therefore, it's important for you guys to avail yourself of the resources that we give you. The first resource is going to be the speech contest rule book. It changes every year, so you'll want to make sure that you have the most current speech contest rule book. And all you have to do is go to toastmasters.org. And if you type in the search 1171, it will come up. I also sent you guys a sheet that has some links. And there's a link to the speech contest section of toastmasters.org, which has the rule book there. Make sure that you download yourself or even print yourself a copy of the most recent rule book and go over it so that you can answer questions for your clubs. And then your next level resource would be Carol. If you still can't answer their questions based on the resources you have, you would go to Carol, and she is your go-to person for those kind of questions. Carol, I noticed that chats are popping up. Obviously, I can't see them, so please monitor them and let me know if I need to stop or go over anything. There will be questions at the end, though, so if they can wait, please hold them. The area and division directors, you need to have a thorough understanding. I already covered that because you are the resource. District requirements, we must hold the international speech contest every year. That is non-negotiable. We have to do it. We are allowed to choose up to 3 additional contests per year. Our district has decided and put in our operations manual that we will only choose 1 additional contest. And that contest is voted on by you guys, the district executive committee, in our first DEC meeting of the year. You guys voted, and we are having Tall Tales this year. The most important person in your contest is going to be your chief judge. Now, I've asked all of the division directors to choose a division chief judge. That way the area directors will be assigned somebody to be their chief judge, and you don't have to go out and find that person for yourself. It also keeps things more consistent within your division. But it's their job to select fair and impartial judges, train the contest officials, and prepare the contest officials for their roles. We have ballots and guides and all of those training things for judges, and that would be where the chief judge comes in. Again, your go-to rules guide is your contest rule book. I told you it's item 1171, and that will give you answers to almost any question you could come up with about contests. If you still have other questions, I would ask that you don't email directly, but toastmasters.org can be emailed or called, but please go through Carol for that, because she may have multiple people with the same questions that she can go to for that information. This year is different for you guys. It changed a little bit last year. We got through almost all of the area contests before we went online. The Division E people ended up doing online contests for their area. And then all of the division contests and obviously the district contests were online. This year, we are mandated by Toastmasters International that all area, division, and district contests will be held online. So I'm going to go through online speech contest best practices for you guys. And then we'll talk about a few things from last year, some lessons learned that I want to give you guys. So before you even get to contest day, you need to determine your online platform. Right now, we're using Zoom. I suggest that you all continue using Zoom because it's the platform that most of your members are familiar with. It's not required that you use Zoom. There are other platforms available. However, it is the one that we're most familiar with and that I suggest that you use. I suggest that you practice with your contest team, because for some of them and some of you, this might be your first experience with having a Zoom contest. Some districts even did some mock contests online. If that's something that you feel like would be helpful for your contest team, then feel free to do that, and maybe talk to your division director and other area directors and see if they want in on that, and we can set something like that up. Consider what volunteers you'll need. Volunteers for an online contest sometimes are a little different from an in-person contest. You still need judges, you still need timers, you still need most of the roles that you have in person, but you probably won't need a raffle master. You probably will need a Zoom master or a chat master. You might even want a tech master. If you're someone who is not great with the tech aspect and you know somebody who is, you might want to create that role and assign somebody to handle your tech for you. So those are things you need to think about. And it really depends on you and what your capabilities are, and knowing yourself and what you're comfortable handling in a Zoom environment and what you're not. And then you'll also want to choose a separate instant messaging service. Now, what this is talking about is for your judges to communicate with your chief judge, your timers to communicate with your chief judge. You can easily just use your text message on your phone and set up a group text for those people. That's what we did last year. We got the list of all of the judges and the chief judge. We set up group texts. We tested the group text to make sure we had everybody's numbers right, because in one of the contests we didn't, and somebody wasn't getting their texts. And we did that. But there are other options such as WhatsApp or Slack. There's other options you could use, but make sure you decide that well ahead of time, and that you test it out and make sure that everybody in your group that you want to be getting the messages is getting the messages. You will not want to be communicating with your judges over Zoom because of the fact that they're supposed to be anonymous. And if you're calling them out and talking to them on Zoom, then they're no longer anonymous. And private chat in the Zoom we found is not super effective, because people are chatting during it, and you may private chat to somebody, but then 5 other people chat, and all of a sudden your chat is off the screen and the person you were trying to chat to never saw it. So I suggest you do not plan to use Zoom chat as your messaging service. Then you have to deal with communications with your audience members, your contestants, and your officials. This presentation was created at the very beginning of Zoom, so we had to remind people, if you don't have Zoom on your computer, download it. I'm 99% sure that all of your members now have Zoom downloaded, so I'm not too concerned about this first point. But they might be new to Zoom and not really understand a lot about it, so you may want to email them and send some helpful resources for some ideas about ways that they can use Zoom better, especially your contestants. If they haven't done a Zoom contest before or haven't had a lot of experience with speaking online, there's a lot of tutorials out there about how to appear better on Zoom. You might want to send them that type of resources, but again, that's optional, that's up to you. And then you'll want to have expectations for your audience members. What is your protocol? We request that everybody is not only muted, but off of video while the speaker is speaking, because it is distracting. If you're on video and you're getting your drink, or you're getting up and turning around, or you're doing other things while the speaker is speaking, it can be distracting. So we ask that everybody turn off their cameras. That's something you're going to need to let your audience members know. So make sure that you come up with what your protocol is so that they know what they're going to be expected to do. Your contest officials, before your contest, your judges have to sign an affidavit of eligibility. Those need to be signed and to your chief judge before contest day so that you're not scrambling the morning of your contest to make sure all of those forms get turned in. That's something your chief judge will coordinate for you and make sure that it happens, but you may have a judge that the chief judge is having trouble communicating with, and they may ask you to step in and help them with that. So be prepared and understand that there are forms that need to be turned in. Then you're going to need to determine what a way to choose your speaking order. We had a couple different innovative ways that chief judges did it last year. One of them held up cards and asked the contestants, did they want the card right, left, center? And the cards had numbers on them. We had one chief judge that had cards with pictures on them, pick the rabbit, the duck, the horse, whatever, and the cards on the other side had numbers on them. So those are some ideas of ways that you can choose the speaking order, because it does have to be done virtually. And I suggest that that is done before the contest, probably at your contestants briefing is the best time to make sure that's done. And then again, you'll have expectations that you'll want to communicate. So your contestants also have required forms. There's a profile that needs to be filled out, and there's also an eligibility form that needs to be signed. They will need to get those forms turned in before the contest, again, so you're not scrambling day of. And you'll want to explain to them how they are determining the speaking order. Again, a lot of this will be handled by your chief judge, which is why your chief judge is so, so important. You're going to conduct briefings. In an in-person contest, you conduct briefings, but it's usually like 15 minutes in another room at your venue. We're in a different situation now, so you're going to want to schedule your briefings before the contest. I think we did, because our contests were on Saturday. I believe we did most of our briefings on Wednesday or Thursday night. That way we could do tech checks with the contestants and make sure that everything was working. And if it wasn't working, then they had a little bit of time to get it fixed. If you do your briefings on Friday night, then odds are they will not have time to get things fixed before Saturday morning when your contest happens. You'll make sure that you set expectations with your contestants, your judges, all of your people that you're briefing, and make sure they know what they're going to be expected to do. Make sure that they understand how to work with Zoom and how that's all going to function. Make sure you schedule more time. Like I said, in person, you can do a 15-minute briefing. I scheduled hour-long briefings, and some of them went over. It depends on how many questions they have. And then make sure you practice with them. For your timers, you need to make sure that they understand the role. You will always need to have 2 timers because you'll need a backup timer. Now you can decide who your primary timer and your backup timer are. What we did last year is we picked a primary and a backup, and as long as the primary timer's timing sheet and everything was filled out properly and everything was good, we didn't go to the backup timer. But we still had the backup timer turn in a timing sheet just in case that we needed that. You'll have to figure out what their method for signaling is. Now, a lot of people are using the timing backgrounds. On your resource sheet, I sent you guys a link to download the timing backgrounds from TI. You can also have timing cards, but whatever your timing device is going to be, you need to make sure that your timers are at your contestants briefing and that they show them what it's going to look like so that your contestants know what they're looking for. You need to give the method for, there's still the timing of the minute of silence in between each speaker for the judges to mark their ballots. So you need to determine how you're going to do that. And that can be just, they give you a green when the minute's over, or however they're going to, that's the easiest way to do it. I suggest that you just have them time a minute and give you a green when it's over. That's the easiest way to handle it. And let them practice the signaling during your contestants briefing. You need backup procedures in case a timing device fails. So that is why you have to have 2 timers. because if I'm timing and I'm timing on my phone and it dies, then I need somebody else timing as well, so that we make sure that we aren't messing up for the contestants, because it's important to them that they make their time. And then how are they going to submit the timing sheet to the judge? The easiest way we found last year is they just snapped a picture of their timing sheet on their phone and texted it to the chief judge. And then that way they had it, and it was simple, easy, because there's only 2 timers, 2 timing sheets, 2 texts. That's not too hard to deal with. And then again, practice it at the contestants briefing. You want your contestants to understand what it looks like. I also suggest that you tell your contestants to pin the timer, because if they pin the timer, they're going to have the timer on their screen. Right now, I am looking at my screen, and the only person in your Zoom meeting I can see is Carol Campbell, because I've pinned her because she's the timer. If I had all of you guys on there, she might switch to a different page and I wouldn't be able to see her or know when the timing cards hit. So I suggest you ask them to pin the timer. In your contestants briefing, you'll talk about the logistics, which includes the speaking area. So they say speaking criteria, but speaking area, in a real contest, you'll have a stage marked out. This is your speaking area. On Zoom, you want to tell them how much of their body should be showing. So for last year, it was waist up. They can't show more than waist up. So we didn't want people standing, because then nobody can see their face. But you can determine that. If you don't, we can have people standing, that's fine. But when we get to district, it's really waist up. So it's better if that's how they practice it. So I suggest that you do waist up. Then you'll talk about how to lodge a protest. A protest is when you think that the person's speech content is not original. It needs to be 75% original. I double check the rule book and make sure that's still the number. And if it's not, or they don't give the source, they can use other people's material as long as they give the source, then it can be protested. So you need to read the rule book and find out what the rules on protests are. And then how will protests be lodged? You can give the chief judge's cell number if they're comfortable with that, and use text, however you're going to handle protests, you need to decide that and make sure that's communicated with the contestants. And then what to do with technology failures. Your online best practices manual, which I sent a link to all of you, the online best practices manual will tell you how to handle technology failures. And there's rules involved as to how long you can stop a contest, hold for technology failures, that type of thing. So you'll want to familiarize yourself with those rules in the rule book. We don't have time to go through all of them today, or I would. And then you'll want to do a final audio and video check. As I told you, we had the contestants briefings a couple days ahead so that they had time to fix their issues. But then I also opened the room an hour before the contest for the contestants to come on and do a final check and make sure everything was good. And not only that their audio and video was working, but for instance, last year we had a couple of them that when they showed up contest morning, they were wearing different colors than they had on at their briefing, and it just did not work with their background. For instance, if they have a white wall and they're wearing a cream sweater, they kind of disappear. So there was a couple contestants, we told them, you need to go change, put on something darker. Those types of things, if you give them that hour before your contest, that gives them the chance to work out all of those problems. And then they can practice with the audio and video and the timer again to make sure they know how to pin everything and just make sure everything's cool. The more time you give them to get everything right, the smoother your contest is going to run. In the contestants briefing, you will definitely want to go over their lighting background, make sure they know what their speaking area is, talk about their clothes and their camera setup. They show a picture here of a lady with the red against the white. That shows up really well. So those are things that they're going to need to think of. If you notice, her face is in full light, but she doesn't have any weird glow around her head or anything because she doesn't have any overhead lights on. She doesn't have any windows behind her that are creating weirdness. So those are the types of things that you're going to want to talk about with your contestants and let them practice. The point is for them to put their best foot forward in this contest. They're already handicapped by the fact that it's online, so give them as much advantage as you possibly can. The judges briefing, you're going to need to make sure that your judges understand what the speaking area is, because you don't want them marking down somebody because they think that they're not allowed to show their whole body when you've told the contestants that they can. So you're going to want to make sure that they're briefed on what the speaking area is. You're going to have to explain to them that one of the criteria that they judge on is eye contact. So you'll need to explain to them, if they're not familiar with judging on Zoom, that eye contact means looking at the camera. Like right now, I'm looking at Carol on the screen instead of you guys. So I'm not making eye contact with you. But if I look directly at the camera, now I'm making eye contact. You're going to need to explain to your judges that is how they judge eye contact, is whether or not they're looking directly at the camera. And then you need to explain to them that every contestant will have different technology. Some of them will be wearing a headset, and that's okay. They don't mark them down because they're wearing a headset. Some of them might have professional mics. That's fine, but not everyone will. They are not supposed to judge on your technology. Sometimes your camera will freeze for a second, and sometimes your voice and your face end up not matching up. That's a technology issue. That's not a content issue. That's not a delivery issue. And that's not something they should be judging on. So, and it's difficult. I understand for people to ignore that stuff when they're judging, but you need to ask your judges to please try to ignore those things when they're judging. Again, your judges are anonymous. So if you have to refer to them, I suggest that you assign each of them a number, and you can do that during the judges briefing. So what you don't want, this was a problem last year. Judges thought because we told them they were judge 1 or judge 2, then on screen they renamed themselves judge 1 or no. If you name yourself judge on screen, then everybody knows who you are, and now you're not anonymous anymore. The assigning them a number is just for you to communicate. For instance, when ballots are submitted at the end of each contest and you've got 10 judges and 9 ballots in, then you're missing somebody. You can figure out who's missing and say, judge number 2, your ballot has not been submitted. Please hit the submit button and submit your ballot. So that's so that you can communicate with them, and that is all it's for. Make sure they do not put judge in their name, because we don't want people to know who they are. You'll have to explain to them how you're handling protests as well. You'll need to talk to them about how to sign their electronic ballots. For purposes of our contests, and this is what we've decided through our couple trials and errors last year, is we will have a Google form. The Google form will look exactly like the ballot that they see on paper. It'll have first place, second place, third place. They'll type in the names, and then it'll have a section that says, by typing your name in here, you are signing this electronic ballot. They'll type their name in and they'll hit submit. By making all of those required fields, we avoid them missing signing the ballot, and that's how we will be handling it. And then talk to them about how they submit it. We will have test ballots so that at your judges briefing, you can try it and make sure that they understand and make sure it's working, so that the first time they see it is not on your contest day. Now, all of that was before you even get to contest day. And don't worry, we'll help you with all of it. It can be a little bit daunting. On contest day, you're going to want to make sure that you have a sergeant at arms who is going to read your protocol, tell everybody to stay muted, leave their webcam off, and then read the online speech contest statement. That is in the best practices manual that I sent you guys, so make sure that you familiarize yourself with that. There are awards to be given out. As you know, we can't physically give anybody their trophy. There will be trophies, and there will be a Hall of Fame during which people will actually receive their trophies. The date of that, we don't know yet. However, there are certificates that can be given electronically, sent via email, or however you want to handle that. And I sent you guys on your resource list that had links. There's a link to some digital certificates. So you can use those. And that's really the only thing that we can provide to people right now until the Hall of Fame. You're going to want to have a contest chair. Now that can be the area director or division director. In the past, it usually is. However, you are free to choose a contest chair if you know somebody who you think would be better at organizing all of these things that we're talking about. If you know you're not the person for that, then feel free to find a contest chair. You will most likely be doing joint contests and working with another area or division director, so make sure that they're on board with having a contest chair. Or since there's two of you, divide up the responsibilities and choose the responsibilities that fit best with your skill set. And then that way you're both doing what comes naturally instead of trying to force yourself into something that you are not good at. Whether you're the contest chair or you have a contest chair, make sure that they are prepared to fill in time. After each contest, they do contestant interviews. Usually, by the time the contestant interviews are done, because we are using a Google form that kind of auto sends the information for your vote counters, usually by the time the contestant interviews are over, your vote counters and your chief judge are back and they have the information of who your winners are. However, make sure that your contest chair or your Toastmaster, whoever you have handle that, is prepared with some anecdotes, humor, story, something to fill time so that you don't have dead air if those judges or vote counters are not back by the time you're done with the contestant interviews. Dead air is death to a contest. It is not what you want to happen. So make sure that you choose people to help you who are good at that kind of thing. And then make the award process fun. If you choose to use the digital certificates, then you can make sure those are filled out and pop them up on the screen if you want, if you're good at sharing screen. If you're not good at that, do not create more problems for yourself of things that can go wrong, but you can do that. Have the contestants turn on their cameras during the results announcement because we want to see everybody's happy faces. We want to see the cheering. We want to, we want some excitement around. It's bad enough they're not getting their trophy, but at least you can try to make it fun and give them a little bit of feedback on that. And then at the end of the announcement, allow all of your audience members to unmute or have your Zoom master unmute everybody and really, really get the applause going because we miss a lot of the applause during this process that normally we would have. This is just what the digital awards kind of look like. Now your contest is over. You did an awesome job. What do you need to do? If you have the digital certificates, make sure you email those out to your contestants. In a in-person contest, we ask that all of the information from the judges' ballots get destroyed, that they don't leave them lying around, they don't show them to anybody. We want to make sure that that happens here as well. If there's any digital files that were involved in any of that, as far as Google Forms and sheets and that type of thing, you're going to make sure that all of those get deleted because you don't want any of that information out there. Give the judges the same information. If you've handwritten, please destroy it at your house. Don't let anybody see it. Those is kind of the same type of information that you would give in person. And then for Carol, at the district level, she'll be recording the international contest because she will need to clip the video of the winner and submit that for the region quarterfinals. So that is something that she will have to take care of. You guys do not have to do that at any of your levels. And I suggest that you actually don't record. I last year gave the contestants permission to record in Zoom so that they could record their own if they wanted to, but I did not record all of the contests because that just creates one more thing that you have to deal with. You have a lot to deal with. I'm not telling you you can't record, but I would suggest that you don't. And the rest of this, Carol will get instructions on how. Hopefully we'll have somebody that goes on to the semifinals next year, and she'll get instructions on how to do that. Here's your contest calendar. You should already have this, but if you don't, the area contests start February 27th, and you see they go every Saturday for 4 Saturdays in a row. Then we skip a little bit because I think Easter's in there, and we go into division contests. A and B are together, C and D are together. And then our district contest, I put April 30th to May 1st because we are considering the idea of a split. If we have to do everything online, doing split and doing Tall Tales on a Friday evening and international on that Saturday during the conference. Again, if that change is permanently made, you guys will approve that at the February deck meeting. All right, we're going to go on to questions, but I want to give you a little bit. I'm going to stop sharing for 1 second because I want to give you guys an idea first. Carol, how much time do I have left?
You're sitting at 36 minutes. You're good. Almost to green.
Okay. All right. I am going to go really quick to, just a second. Let me pull it up. I'm going to go really quick to the resource sheet that I sent you guys. This is something I scoured. Come on, open. I scoured TI and the internet for you guys to try to find things that could help you. And so I want to look at those really quick. I'm going to share my screen again. And are you seeing online contest resources? Awesome. Okay. So this first one, I'm not going to go to it right now, but this is actually a video from Aaron Beverly, who was world champion, not this most recent year, but the one before that. That's a video from him on contest tips. That is something not only for you guys to watch, but that I would provide to your contestants as well. This is, second one is going to be the most important because this is the contest portal on Toastmasters.org. And this is where all of your resources, there's a link right here to the speech contest rulebook. There's frequently asked questions. There's information about all the different types of contests. Then down here, there's all of your contest materials that you can look at. There's tutorials. Then the quality speech contest, that's just the training that we just did. And then
we're no longer seeing your screen.
What?
When you clicked on the link, we're no longer seeing your screen.
Oh, okay. Well, that sucks. I was hoping it would take you there. But anyway, everything that you need to run your speech contest is pretty much there. So if you click on that link from your sheet that I gave you, then you'll find everything that you need. This is the District 115 contest portal. We need to update a couple of the things there because some things have changed. Then the original webinar of the best practices for online, I gave you a link to that. if you have not downloaded timer backgrounds, there's a link to those, and your digital certificates that I showed you, there's a link to those. So those are just some different resources that I think are important for you guys to have. And now we will go to questions. Carol, did we have questions in the chat that I need?
We do. I was running a couple of things. First one, it says, is there going to be a district level restriction on speaking area? How much the body can be shown? Can we get the decision soon? I think we need to let all potential contestants know that before they start preparing their speeches, even at the club level.
Yeah, so like I said, last year for, he says, where do we, okay, I'll get to that. Last year, the rule was waist up, and I'm 99.9% sure that's still the rule for district. I suggest that we keep that standard throughout, because if you have a contestant who goes through area and division and you allow them to stand up and show their whole body, and then at district we tell them they can only show waist up, that might mess them up. So they need to make sure, because especially if they have some kind of massive gesture that they need their whole body for, they need to know ahead of time not to do that, you know, to revamp their gestures to do waist up. So I'm going to say waist up. Carol, do you agree?
Kristin, this is Malik. I'm sorry, that was my question actually. And it occurs to me that if there is some guideline on, since it's an international contest as well as just a district level contest, if there's a guideline from international about that, wouldn't we want to make sure we're following that? So as people are practicing and preparing, they're doing whatever they're doing to get ready to go on to beyond the district potentially.
The guideline last year was waist up, and I have not seen any change to that.
Okay.
So I would just say waist up is probably the best thing.
Thank you.
Oh, I don't remember seeing that. I saw people, I thought at the district level standing and moving back to stand when they were doing their international speech.
They were standing, but we only showed them in the video from waist up. Some of them, I mean, they can stand up, but we only videoed from waist up. I'll tell you what, actually, Carol, since you're the PQD, can you double check, make sure they haven't made any changes, and email that information out so that we have that for everybody.
So whoever did the editing of those videos did them waist up. Is that what you're saying? Even though we saw their whole bodies.
Yeah, so I'm remembering Maureen.
I don't believe that to be true.
Well, Maureen was standing, but in the frame, we only saw her from waist up. Or like, well, yeah, I mean, waist up. Because she had a couple of gestures that she needed her upper body for. So that's how we videoed her. That's how it showed in the video. But we'll have Carol double check on that and email that information out to everybody.
Another question that came in: at the club level, can contests be in person? And the answer is yes.
Yes.
At club level.
At club level, we do not dictate how they choose their winners. They can have a contest in person or online. They can tell people to be the contestants. They can take nominations for contestants. They can do whatever they want to choose their contestants at club level. So we don't dictate that at all.
Another question: can we clarify eye contact? Does it mean the speaker must be looking at the camera 100% of the time, or?
No, well, so the judges' ballot, they give you a score on eye contact, a number of points. So it depends on the judge. I feel like, for instance, when I'm speaking, if I'm emphasizing something or thinking of something, sometimes I'll look up a little bit, which you would do in person as well. But as with anything that is judged, it's completely subjective, and it depends on how the judge feels about eye contact, which is the same as in person. You know, some judges feel like you have to be eyeballing somebody the whole time to get, you know, full marks on eye contact, and some of them don't. So again, it's subjective. I would definitely use it to create emphasis. I think even with Maureen's speech, I think you saw at one point she got like in the camera, you know, to really emphasize a point. So it's just something that your contestants need to practice. And if they are not good at it, come up with some helpful tips and tricks. They're all over the internet. You can find them anywhere about how to improve your eye contact on Zoom. So it's just something to keep in mind. But again, it's subjective.
Another question, do we have a budget for the contest?
No, we do not. However, in an in-person situation, the area and division directors would be expected to purchase all of their trophies and everything that's required for their contest. Because we know that you're not in a situation where you can charge entrance fees or have a raffle to create the revenue to buy those things, the district is purchasing them for you. So there shouldn't be anything particularly that you need to pay for. Now, in an in-person situation in the past, we have given gift cards to the Toastmasters and chief judges. There is a new rule at Toastmasters that we are not permitted to give third-party gift cards at all, at any level. Therefore, I would suggest that you find other ways to recognize your helpers, your Toastmasters and chief judges, whether it's just verbal recognition or however you handle that, that's up to you. But again, there is no district or any area or division level budget for those things.
The other thing that with Kristin posting the dates, we as district leaders or the trio are really hoping that 2 area directors get together and do a combined contest and 2 more area directors get together and do a combined contest. And we have scripts for those. We know how to lay those out, but work with your other area directors on that day, figure out who's going to pair up with who. That way that's all taken care of. Question
Rather than later.
Yes.
Get your pair up and choose your times. And what you cannot do is run over somebody else's time. So if in A1 and A2 get together and A3 and A4 get together, you can't both be at 9 o'clock in the morning. So, I would try to schedule them so that they're one after the other. And that way you can probably share people. Like some of us, well, I can't do it, but if I was going to be a judge for you and A1 and A2 was at 9 and you figure the contest is going to last an hour, and then maybe at 11 the next contest starts, I could hang in there and help both. But if the second one is at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I might not be able to come back and help it. So try to get together as an area and figure out the best way to lay them out. Especially keep in mind that Tall Tales is only 3 to 5 minutes. So those will go really fast. That it's not going to be a really long drawn out contest. And a club has to be in good standing to even send a contestant. So if you have clubs that don't have 8 members, they can't send contestants. So you need to look realistically at your dashboard and how many clubs in good standing you have to even estimate how many contestants that you're going to have, because you may only have 2 or 3 contestants. I think some of the areas last year only had 1, in which case you still have a contest, but they're automatically first place. So you need to look at your numbers, realistically figure out how long you think your contest is going to take, and don't put huge gaps in there if you don't have to.
Another question, where do we get this form? I'm not sure which form we're referring to. I'm wondering if it's talking about the guide that you sent out in a previous email.
Yeah, the one that had the links. I emailed all of you that Thursday.
So it should be in your email. Check there. One thing that I do want to point out is if at the club level you run a contest and your contestant goes over time, they are disqualified. Please make sure that if you run a contest, you run under the appropriate TI rules. I know that we've had some hiccups with that. We've had questions about that, et cetera, et cetera. Third-party gift cards, those are, say I want to give Kristin a Starbucks card for being an awesome district director. I can't do that anymore. It can't come from TI type funds.
Yeah, if you want to buy them with your personal money, that's up to you, but we can't keep you from doing that. But you're not supposed to use our funding for that. And I honestly don't know why. I heard it has some kind of tax implication, but I don't really know. They didn't explain why. They just made it a rule as far as I know.
So you're saying that club funds can't be used to purchase a gift card for one of your club members for being Toastmaster?
Yeah, we were told no. But again, we don't audit the clubs. I'm going to say that, yes, I know I'm district director. I'm going to say this. I don't know what you spend your club money on. I mean, there's rules. Your treasurer should understand all the rules, but you know, there's no police that are going to. And if you have already, a lot of clubs had already had some leftover funds and bought a bunch of gift cards. If you already have the gift cards, you're permitted to give them out. I have a comment here. I'm concerned about setting up Zoom for the contest. So the contests will all be held on the district Zoom account. So you don't need to worry about that. Once you guys have your times and everything set and who's pairing up and what's happening, we will set them up on the Zoom account. And that's the other reason why I'm saying don't set them at the same time, because we can't run 2 contests from the same account at the same time. We need them to space out to where you can all use our account. And then that way you don't have to worry about it. And if you have a lot of people, then the account can handle it. So that is fine. Don't worry about that. You may need your own account for briefings, in which case, if most of the groups have somebody that's got a pro account. I've got one, Carol's got one. If you don't have a pro account and we can't accommodate your briefing time because we've got other meetings or something scheduled, then we'll loan you an account. We'll find an account for you. So don't worry about that. Are there any other questions? I don't want to go more than like 2 more minutes because I want to give you 5 minutes to run to the restroom before the
It
next
says,
training
can
starts.
we purchase TI boxes rewards?
Yes.
And can we find out why the rule is about the third party? I think you already covered that. I think it's something
Yeah,
with,
and I've asked that question a couple times and I haven't really gotten a straight answer. The other thing you can do is buy TI swag from the TI store. So they've got, I've got some right here. They've got these cute pad folios. Oh, I'm on these cute pad folios that people seem to like. They've got the pencil and pen sets are like $5. They've got, I heard they now have masks, which I'm going to buy a bunch of those next time. You know, so there's some, you know, reasonably priced items that you can purchase. A lot of clubs actually have leftover TI bucks that they've never spent, that they don't know what they're going to spend them on now that they're online, because they used to buy materials to hand out in person. So you can use them to buy swag, even, you know, make a swag closet of stuff that, you know, that you can hand out. So those are some ideas of things that you can do instead of gift cards. Carol, was there any other questions I haven't covered?
I think we're all good then. If there are any questions that I've missed, let me know.
Yeah, and you can always email us. We'll get back to you on anything that you have questions on. Again, the most important thing for all of you is read the online best practices that I emailed you and get the current club rule or speech contest rule book and go through that. And that will answer 99.9% of your questions. Make sure that you, division directors, make sure you pick an experienced chief judge. And you guys make sure that you pick experienced helpers to help you. And I think that will solve most of your problems. Again, we're resources, will help you with anything that you need. All right, that puts me at 10:25. I'm gonna give you guys a 5-minute break to run to the restroom or get a drink and get back here. If you still have a question unanswered, please email us and we will get that answer to you.